Hi guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today I have a first impression video and I really had to do this. I felt like it was a must. And we're going to do a first impression on the House of Zerjoff again. And some of you are probably rolling your eyes already after the previous first impression from the House of Zerjoff that I did a week or so back on the fragrance called Symphonium. Now, what prompted this review, by the way, this is on a fragrance called Richwood. And what I did is I took a bunch of Lucky Scent samples that I had in those little 1 ml or half ml dabbers that I absolutely hate, and I aggregated them into a spray. I like to spray my fragrances on. That's my thing. I don't ever dab. I like to have a spray. So I took about 5, 6, 7 of those and I put them in here. And so the warning is this is not an official brand sample. These are from Lucky Scent. They're all labeled Richwood. So I assume that they are properly all the Richwood fragrance. And what brought this about is one of the big reviewers, someone with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, one of the influencers in the fragrance community, you could say, did a top 20 Zerjoff list, and they put Symphonium number 2 on the list. Now, I know that changes differ. People's noses experience and smell things differently. But, you know, for someone that's very experienced, to me, Symphonium was an absolute mess, a travesty. If you want to laugh, go watch my early impression video, if you will. I absolutely trashed that fragrance, and I said it's not a $10 fragrance. Forget a $400 fragrance, and I stand by that. That is literally one of the worst fragrances I have ever smelled. But enough about Symphonium. The reason that came up is Symphonium got put number 2. Now, this is after I did my first impression video, and Richwood got put number 1. And so I thought, okay, let me try the number 1 spot. There is a Zerjoff that I know and love, and just to give you an example of how little I care about bottle and presentation, you know, one of the things that Zerjoff does well to me is the presentation. They have beautiful bottles with beautiful, they have this like coffin that it sits in with these little flaps that fold over the bottle, and it's all really posh and nice, but you're probably paying a lot of money for the presentation instead of the juice. So what I did is I had a chance to pick up this a year or so ago. This is Zerjoff Home, and you can see the bottle. This is a refill bottle. It is glass, but this refill bottle here was a heck of a lot cheaper, and it was the vintage refill bottle, so it's the older juice. Zerjoff Home is right up my alley for somebody like me because this is almost like a take on Nietzsche 10. Spicy, smoky leather is basically what this is. I love Nietzsche 10, and I actually really like this fragrance. I think this is a fantastic fragrance. I think it's overpriced, but I think it's a fantastic fragrance. That's the only Zerjoff bottle that I own, and you can see I didn't pay the bigger money to have the bottle. I went for the cheapest route to get the most juice because all I care about is the juice. I decant this into sprayers and I bring it with me in the winter. It's absolutely gorgeous. So that's the only Zerjoff I've ever tried that is full bottle worthy to me, to my taste. Okay, so I understand people's taste change. If you're a gourmand lover, maybe you will love Symphonium, but Rich Mitch actually did his own first impression, and he said something that really stuck with me on Symphonium. He said that Zerjoff needs kind of like the king in the old days used to have a jester, you know, someone who could tell them what's good and what's shite and have no repercussions. Brands need stuff like this. And so the other thing with Zerjoff that I've noticed is a lot of their early fragrances, they all are very reminiscent of fragrances that are popular or from the past, right? So like this, for example, is Nietzsche 10. A lot of the first line fragrances, which I think their first offering started to come out in the mid-2000s. You know, this Richwood, by the way, came out in 2010. The perfumer is Jacques Flory. And Richwood, let me read you the note breakdown. Bergamot, grapefruit, mandarin orange in the top. Iris, rose, blackcurrant in the mid. Base, labdanum, musk, patchouli, Mysore sandalwood, and vanilla. Okay, so what I get initially, now this has been on my skin for about 2.5 hours now. I had to do a little bit earlier review today because I'm going to be busy in the afternoon. So I haven't really had a chance to let this sit on my skin all day like I like to do for a first early impression. So this really is almost like a first impression. Remember, it very well can change, but I like this fragrance, believe it or not. And again, I just want to say my point in all this, I'm not doing these videos to entertain or to make you laugh or to bash a brand so hard. You know, I'm just doing it to give you, my whole goal in doing these videos, and I've said this before, is I want to give you 100% my honest take with no outside influences. I don't want free bottles or free, publicity or, any of that to influence what I say on a fragrance. So I will do reviews off of decants like this, samples off of decants instead of a full bottle from a brand. And so you don't get to see the bottle, but so what? You get my honest opinion on it. And like I said, I bashed Symphonium. I like this one. If I was going to buy another Zerjoff so far, this is the one that I would actually buy a bottle of. But would I buy a bottle is the question, because there are some pros and some cons to this fragrance. And let me just tell you how it starts. So when you first spray, you get this very medicinal patchouli, which has been repeated on when other people talk about this fragrance, and it's true. And I think it's almost a mixture of this almost sour citrus, like grapefruit can sometimes come across as sour. So you get this sour citrus with this fruity blackcurrant a bit, but then it's really all about the patchouli. And patchouli instantly takes over the fragrance to my nose, and you get the patchouli and the different facets of the patchouli. It's almost like a green medicinal patchouli, if you will. And I love patchouli. I'm a patchouli lover. It's one of my favorite notes. And just to give you an example, I've told you before many times, Guerlain Heritage is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. That is a patchouli heavy fragrance. Davidoff Zeno uses a beautiful patchouli. Amen uses a beautiful patchouli. Tempo from Diptyque, a beautiful patchouli. 4160 Tuesdays has a very fresh patchouli called Shazam. And then there is a couple other patchoulis like I have, like Psychedelic, which I didn't want to grab the box out. It's behind this closed door over here. And then, there's a bunch of other patchoulis I've talked about recently, like Patchouli Antique is one that I did an unboxing of and first impression on a month or two ago. So I'm a patchouli fan, put it that way. I even did This Is Not a Top 10 on patchouli. You can go watch that. It includes most of my patchouli fragrances in there. But the one that it will remind you the most of instantly, and it says it on the internet, people talk about it all the time, and they are correct, is Coromandel. Coromandel by Chanel is the one that Richwood will remind you the most of. So this is definitely an inspired by fragrance again. And when you talk about value for money, Richwood has a problem. And the problem that it has is that 100 ml of Richwood is $510, okay? 200 ml of Coromandel by Chanel, which we all know Chanel uses the highest quality ingredients. They have master perfumers. They actually have 2 master perfumers on their staff. They've got Olivier Polge, and then they have Christopher Sheldrake, who is master of ingredients. And Chanel is a vertically integrated company. They control all of the pieces that go into their fragrance. They control the patchouli fields in Indonesia or whatever. They control the sandalwood. They control everything, so they know what they're getting. They know the quality. And you can get 200 ml of Coromandel for $400 US. So double the juice, less price, and you're getting something of the highest quality. Now, I think Richwood does smell expensive, and I think Richwood does smell posh. This is a good fragrance, just like I think Zerjoff Home is a good fragrance. So the Zerjoff brand hasn't impressed me because of the fact that I think that, you know, they price their fragrances at a point where somebody who doesn't have experience in the fragrance game, I mean, if you're not out there sniffing all these fragrances, you're not going to make the connection to Coromandel unless you know it. I mean, unless you have the experience of smelling and understanding Coromandel's structure, or unless you go online and read what a bunch of other people say about a fragrance. If you're just an average Joe Blow that goes to the mall and, you know, has $500 in their pocket and wants to make a splash, and you smell this, you'll think it smells posh, you'll think it smells high class, and you would probably spend $510 on 100 ml of this, and you would be getting a pretty good fragrance. But are you really getting $510 worth of fragrance? You're getting a fragrance that is almost like a clone. Coromandel came first, obviously, by 3 years or whatever it was. So if it's not a clone, it's definitely inspired by. The other thing that really bothers me about when I'm looking at Xerjoff's website, which, by the way, it literally says on Xerjoff's website, Sandalwood of Mysore. Sandalwood from Mysore is actually the exact verbiage. Thanks to the happy and warm sandalwood from Mysore. Now, I think that sandalwood and patchouli is a winning combination. I love that combination of notes. And those are kind of the two main stars of Richwood to me. And it's a classic structure. You guys know that I'm a fan of vintage perfumery, and so I like that, you know, that blend of ingredients really speaks to me. But since about 2003, Mysore has been heavily regulated by the Indian government. You can't just go get Mysore sandalwood. And if you did, my guess would be that this would be probably $1,500 or $2,000 instead of $500. That's my guess, because Mysore sandalwood is extremely expensive right now, very heavily regulated by the Indian government. So if they say they use real Mysore sandalwood, they must. I don't think they would lie about something like that. But it sets off warning bells in my head. I said the other day on one of my Arise Ladore first impressions, I think it was Chinese oud, that when I see Mysore sandalwood, I always get a little concerned, unless it's a vintage fragrance. Like we talked about the other day, there's a fragrance from YSL called Jazz Prestige from the early 90s. That came out in 93. And literally on the box, it says Mysore sandalwood. I believe that because that is pre, you know, the heavy regulation in with the sandalwood trees from the Indian government. And so when I see something like that, I can believe it. I mean, you know, Jazz Prestige from 93, sure, there very well could be Mysore sandalwood in something like that. But a 2010 niche fragrance, it bothers me. You know, when Arise Ladore does it or Bortnikov does it, they're in Thailand. They're creating fragrances that are non-IFRA compliant. And when I see a fragrance like Zerjoff, or when I see a fragrance like Creed's Original Santal saying there's Mysore sandalwood in it, I get a little bit cautious, let's say. My spidey senses start to tingle. And as much as I love this fragrance, I would never pay $510 for this. I wouldn't give Zerjoff the money or the satisfaction. I don't think they deserve it as a brand. I don't think they've been creative enough. You know, I like fragrances that are creative. I like fragrances that are unique And when you buy niche, you want something that is unique and creative and smells amazing and smells something you've never smelled before, right? And with this, what you get is you get amazing ingredients. It smells like it's amazing ingredients anyways. It smells expensive, but you get kind of a clone take on it. And there's a couple recent brands that have kind of followed this trend. Other brands are stuff like the Roses you see behind me. You know, some of the Roses smell very posh and very expensive, but they smell like a fragrance from 30, 50, 70 years ago. And, you know, there's that back and forth to discuss. So there's a lot going on in my mind when I think about, would I buy a bottle? Especially since I already have Coromandel. If I didn't have Coromandel, would I get Richwood? Yes, but I would want to buy it at a discount. I would not want to pay retail for it. I think that Zerjoff's pricing is a little high, let's say. They're a little proud of their products. And so you get, if you take a look at basically what the Xerjoff website says, it says, Richwood is a majestic patchouli enhanced fragrance, which, thanks to the happy and warm sandalwood from Mysore, displays a woody herb with a chocolatey, so again, chocolatey, this is supposed to be white chocolate. This is chocolatey and very inviting mood with the ultimate cheerful warmth imparted by scrumptious citruses and cassis. It blooms and evolves the dark rose and patchouli. And there is a really, there is a beautiful rose facet to this fragrance. I think it's completely unisex. I think all fragrances are completely unisex. As I've gone on in my journey, I've discovered more and more fragrances targeted towards women, which I absolutely love. And I've discovered that a lot of women will sometimes wear masculine targeted fragrances that they absolutely love. And so gender in perfumery has really changed in my mind as I've really gone through my journey in the last, 5 or 6 years, let's say. And so this is completely unisex to me. This would smell amazing on a woman. It would smell amazing on a man. And so you just kind of have to, I guess, understand the history to really get all the pieces of the puzzle. I like where it's going. It's been on my skin for 2.5 hours now. And I've enjoyed wearing this fragrance way more than Symphonium. But again, I don't like sweet fragrances. I don't like many gourmands other than, something like Amen or Animal, or, something like that. Those are gourmands that I can stand. Whereas Symphonium was just completely unwearable to me. And so with these niche houses, especially when they're dropping the amount of fragrances that Zerjoff is dropping, every year it seems like they're releasing, a fragrance a month, if not even more. I mean, they're putting out so many fragrances that I think, how can they focus on the quality and the ingredients and take their time and create something amazing, or are they just pumping out units? And it feels like a house like Zerjoff is just pumping out units. And that's why I went to the earliest offering with Zerjoff Home, because it fits me. And this is from 2010. And I feel like maybe they were in a little bit of a different place back then. The fragrance niche market was in a different place 12 years ago. And so I think they created something amazing. I would love to see how this evolves in the dry down. I would love more of that Mysore Sandalwood to come out in the dry down. But this is good. And I wanted to do this review because I wanted to show you guys that, I'm not just bashing Zerjoff to bash them. That, this is something that I just feel like there's really not enough honesty in this game, that in this review game that we have going on. There's so many people that are out there that are doing it to make money. They don't love the fragrances. They're in it as a business. And when you're in it as a business, you have to be diplomatic and you have to say certain things and you have to walk certain lines. And my whole point of this channel is I don't want to walk those lines. I want to walk my own path. And I do these initial first impressions, and you see all the bottles behind me, because ultimately my plan is I'm going to review every single one of these fragrances at some point. That's my plan. All the fragrances that I have full bottles of, you will be getting full reviews. You won't be getting a full review of something like this that I just have a sample of, because I probably won't have a bottle of this. And so I just wanted to kind of give you guys my impression on it. And I wanted to, I wanted to show that I can be fair, even to a house that I'm very, very skeptical of, and to, walk both sides of the aisle, to keep two differing opinions of a brand in your mind, one here, one there, is a very tough thing to do, because it's very easy to just say Zerjoff is shite and just dismiss it. But I want to be fair, and I want to give it a chance, and I want to I wanted to post this for you guys so you could see my thoughts and see that I actually do like this fragrance. I think they created something good here. It's not original, it's not unique. It takes a lot from popular fragrances, let's say, of the time, but they did create a good fragrance. It's overpriced. But you're paying for the name, so you can say I'm wearing a Xerjoff, I'm wearing Richwood. That's really what you're paying for. And if this fragrance was $100, yeah, I would have a bottle. Absolutely, I would have a bottle, because I like this DNA that much. This Zerjoff speaks to me like no other Zerjoff except for this one. Nothing else that I've smelled even comes close. And what worries me the most about this brand is the newer stuff that I've smelled is worse and worse and worse. So it feels like they're not that they started on the mountaintop or anything, but it feels like they've gone even further into the abyss with some of these very sweet gourmands. That's not my thing at all. But if you like classic perfumery, Zerjoff Richwood might be one to at least get your nose on. I'm glad I got a chance to smell it. If a bottle ended up in my collection, I would absolutely wear it. It feels like it is very, flexible. Like you could wear this in any season, anytime. Yeah, and it also feels very posh. It feels like you're wearing something special. And maybe only the most experienced noses would realize that it's not such a unique creation. So that's kind of my take on it. I would love to hear you guys' opinion on Zerjoff Richwood. If you have experience with the fragrance, let me know down below. If you have experience with the house. I love seeing your faces. Comment down below, please. I love interacting with you guys. It's one of my favorite parts of doing this. And it's the people really that make the community. It's something that I've learned doing these videos over the last 3 or 4 years that, or 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 months, is that I used to think in the old days that the whole point of the fragrances are for me to enjoy, and that's it. And wearing a fragrance a day and enjoying it and watching it develop is the most important thing to me. Which the juice is still the most important thing, but I'll tell you one thing that I completely underestimated, being a Luddite like me. Even though I'm in my 30s, I don't have Facebook, I don't have Twitter, I don't have Instagram, I don't do any of that stuff. So being a Luddite on the technology side, I really, I would say I didn't put enough value on the people, because it's really the people and the connections that have taken the experience of the fragrance industry and experiencing fragrances to the next level for me, because I've met some absolutely amazing people, connections with other fragrance lovers, with owners of fragrance shops, with other people who have been doing video. Just absolutely, there are some top-notch people. You're always going to have your bad cream, your bad apples mixed in there, but I would say most of the people that I have come into contact with are people that, you know, you could really associate on a professional and a friendship level. And I've really appreciated the interaction that I've created doing these videos. It's been an absolute joy to create some friendships from doing this, and so that's why this community is so. You know, Rich has said it before that it gives you a sense of connection. It gives you a sense of community, which is very important for humans, especially in the age of COVID. Now that it's hopefully, you know, dying down and things are opening back up, but over the last 2 years, people have been in lockdown. And, you know, those kind of connections, being connected through scent, smelling something that someone else is smelling halfway across the world, or something like that. You know, the technology allows us to do this kind of thing, where in the past, I mean, we never could. You could have a phone call with somebody, but what we're doing here, this kind of interaction on YouTube, would have been impossible 20 years ago. And so I'm really enjoying the way that the channel is developing. I hope you guys appreciate my candor and honesty. I know that sometimes I can be harsh on a product. Sometimes I can hype a discontinued fragrance that I say I love. Like yesterday, I absolutely loved Antaeus Sport. Absolutely, it completely blew me away. And that happens sometimes. Not very often. You can go back and watch my Tietra alla Scala first impression video. And yesterday with Antaeus Sport Cologne, which a lot of people don't even know existed, completely blew me away. So I hope you guys can appreciate both sides of the aisle. That's what I want to bring. I want to bring honesty and candor, and I want to, you know, be able to bash something that I think is shite, and I want to be able to praise something that I think is good without any outside influences. And you're always going to be influenced by things. That's probably a lot of the reasons why I think people like some of these high-end niche brands. They see it's $1,000 a bottle, and they instantly think it must be good. Whereas you have to trust your own nose. That's your own nose is the thing that will lead you to selecting fragrances that you personally love. Now, you can get in touch with somebody and know their taste and realize that, hey, if Rich Mitch likes this, I will probably like it. Or if Eugene likes it, I will probably like it. But at the end of the day, it's your nose that is going to decide whether you love or whether you hate a fragrance. And if you're new to the game, don't trust these, you know, reviewers, if you will. Some of these reviewers are not, they're not honest. And, you know, since there's no one out there protecting the consumer, if you will, they're just out there putting out these, you know, top 10 this list and that, and putting on bottles that they got for free on there. They didn't pay for them. And so why should you pay for them? And people they're going off of those recommendations, and I mean, the return on investment for these brands to send someone a $35 bottle that they're selling for $500 is absolutely huge. And you know, there should be more safeguards for people, in my opinion. But that's why I think there's a niche for somebody like me. Because there's very few people who truly love fragrance. If I never did another video, I would wear fragrance every day. I would break it down in my head just like I do when I wear a fragrance and do a video on it. And so I would continue doing all these things because I'm a fragrance lover first. And a lot of these guys and gals are not. They're a monetization lover, maybe, let's say. But I feel like the industry just needs more. It needs more people who are real. It needs more people who are willing to tell the truth without repercussions of not being sent that free bottle. And so that's why I'm doing this. That is my reason for doing this video, for doing these videos, let's say. And so I just wanted to share that. I know I've said that kind of stuff before. You'll probably hear me say it again because I think it's probably the pedestal that I can stand on that really makes me feel like, you know, I'm doing something that is worthwhile and important. And so I hope you guys can appreciate that. And I thank you very much for watching. Again, please let me know what you think of Richwood, if you liked it like I did, or if you think it's shite. Either way, I want to hear your thoughts below. So thank you very much. Again, a subscription and a like always helps because it helps boost the YouTube algorithm, helps people like me get boosted up the YouTube algorithm compared to the guys that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But, you know, I want people to find me organically. I want people who are like-minded to be in my little community of followers. And I think that's happening slowly, but it is happening. But a like and a subscription helps. But if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. I just appreciate you watching. Even if it reaches only one person, I've said it before, I will be happy. If this reaches only one person, that will satisfy me for taking the time to do this video. So thank you very much, and I've got another video coming tomorrow. I think you guys will really like. Cheers. See you then. Bye-bye.